Hi, my name is DP Mavia. Welcome to another edition of the School of David podcast. Today, I think I want to behave like a marketplace mystic in a way or another. I want to deal with something called meaning, moments, and money. Meaning, moments, and money. I don't think I'll be long, but I think it's something we need to sort of like just tackle as an introduction to something I've been working for a long time. The first time I ever taught this was like 12 years ago, and I think it has emerged again because of holding a class about money the other day with a student of mine. So, meaning, moments, and money. And I want to deal with this thing in a very short way, in sort of like a hierarchical way. And the hierarchy actually is meaning at the top, then you have moments in the middle, and then you have money at the bottom. You can exchange the word meaning. You can exchange the word meaning with purpose or pursuit, and the word moment you can exchange it with time, and let money remain as money or resources. So one of the things you have to understand is you need moments or time to spend money. You need moments or time to spend money, and you need meaning or a sense of purpose for moments or for time to make sense. That's why the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there's a time for this, a time for that, a time for that. So money needs moments, and moments need meaning. That is why sometimes you pray, download meaning, and then you infuse that meaning into moments. And that meaning that you have infused into moments governs money or resources. So the first basic principle actually is money needs moments and moments need meaning, or money needs time and time needs meaning. So time does not make sense if there's no meaning or purpose, and money does not make sense or cannot even be expended or governed if there's no time or moment. So that's the first principle you need to understand. And I want you to think about all this in the context of marketplace, that you are the governor or you are the being that God plants purpose in. So think about your marketplace segment. So meaning, moments, and money. And meaning becomes purpose. And why is time important? Time is important because time, the way I have unpacked this, time is an instrument of governing. Time is an instrument or a principle of governing. Why is time an instrument or a principle of governing? Because it's only in time that space or context or markets make sense. It's only in time that space or context or markets makes sense. So if you are in a market segment, or you are in a trading context, or you are in a trading space, what is governing that space is time. That's why you have seasons. You have to ask yourself, what is a season for this, a season for that? That's why sometimes in a market space you have a season for tea, a season for mangoes. So seasons or time is a governing principle of spaces, of contexts, or markets. Or let me say economy. Economies revolve around the governing principle of seasons. And then money, you need time to govern what? What do you need time for? You need time to govern money. You need time to govern resources. You need time even to come up with ideas. So ideas don't make sense outside of the domain of time per se. Ideas need to be bred in an environment of time. Work is executed in a domain of time. Matter or material or raw materials exist in the domain of time. So meaning, moments, money, or meaning, time, money. So you have purpose, which is meaning. Time is a governing principle of space. Time is a governing principle of context. And time is a governing principle of markets. And then time governs what? Time governs money. Time governs resources. Time governs ideas. Time governs work. That's why sometimes you hear an idea whose time has come, or time governs matter or raw materials. So some of these things don't make sense outside of the concept of time. And time doesn't make sense unless there's what? A purpose. And a purpose needs to be hosted by a being. A purpose needs to be hosted by a being, and you are that being. That's why I'm telling you, think about what I'm talking about in the context of the purpose God has placed on your life, for the particular market space God has put you in, for particular resources that you need to govern that space. I have other 4 things I want to talk about, just or to allude to. Number 1, purpose, personality, power, and pain. So all those 4 things, purpose, personality, power, and pain, are all concepts of meaning. They are all concepts of meaning. You get a purpose or you embark on a purpose. A purpose is pursued or embarked on by a personality. This personality exhibits power. But this personality also sometimes has to endure some form of pain. So the pain sometimes you are going through is relatable to the purpose you're manifesting or you are exhibiting. It becomes the flavor of your personality, and it also determines the power you experience or the power you exude. Whether the power is authority or the power is dynamic or dunamis, if you could say so, power, explosive power. So purpose is important. If you look at your personality, that thing which you say you are branding, your personality, true branding is personality based. True branding is not just colors and logo. True branding is personality. And personality is more than just that you are this kind of person or you are that kind of person. Personality is that thing which God fashioned you to be before the foundation of the earth. That's your flavor. Personality is powerful. If you look at the personality of a person, if you can discern the personality of a person, then you can be able to know the power that person is able to exhibit, or the power that person is able to yield or to wield. Then you can also look at the purpose the person has, and therefore the pain or the things the person must suffer or go through for him to be able to bring out that flavor. Some things are wired uniquely for you. And all this is under meaning, moments, and money. And then you have a second segment I have here called a name, a mandate, and a calling. So if you're a personality, you need a name. If you're a personality, you need a mandate. The mandate is like purpose, and the mandate is also like calling. So if you say so and so is called ABCD, if your name is called, like I am David Paul Mavia, so my calling is not the names on my birth certificate. You are known by a different flavor in the domain of spirit. So in your market space, if you understand these things, because I told you that today I'm going to operate like a marketplace mystic. In the market space, things respond to you based on the flavor with which God fashioned you. God fashioned you in a particular way. The flavor that comes from how you are fashioned is your calling, your branding, your mandate, and you have a name. It says no wonder when you read the book of Revelations, they say that for they that overcome, it talks about those who overcome, he will give them a new name. He'll give you a new mandate, because that mandate you're supposed to fulfill on the earth will have expired. So he'll give you a new mandate, or you'll be in need of a new mandate. So the names are important, mandates are important, and callings are important. All these things, name, mandate, and calling, revolve around our personality. And those are the things that determine the purpose, the power, and the pain. If you say a name, remember Jesus Christ one time trying to cast out a spirit from a person. And this spirit, because it had intermingled with this person completely, the spirit was relying upon the personality of that person to show itself in that context or in that space. You see, context and space market. It was relying upon the personality of that man. So we used to call it the madman of Gennesaret. But Jesus said something before he cast out that spirit. He asked him, what is your name? So that spirit had a name. So I normally say there is no nameless spirit. Every spirit has a name, because every spirit has a mandate, and every spirit has a calling. Every spirit has a personality. Every spirit has a form of ability or power. So three things about spirits. Spirit has a name, identification. Spirit is word driven, direction. A spirit has a mission, mandate. So spirit is word driven, direction. So you're not a directionless spirit. You're a spirit with direction, because God has wired some form of word around your personality. You come exuding a particular kind of word. So when you say I am called ABCD, and then in the world of spirit, they don't hear I am called David Paul Mavia. In the world of spirit, they hear the calling or the flavor or the aroma that exudes from my personality, purpose, power. So it says Jesus the Christ. So the Christos is actually the name that every other thing is responding to. If you look at the book of Mark chapter 1, when Jesus is sitting in the synagogue somewhere, and in sitting in that synagogue, there somebody who sits next to him begins to manifest spirits and say, we know who you are. He says, have you now come to cast us out before our time? We know who you are. You are Jesus, the Son of the living God. The spirits knew him. They knew him as Christos, the Christos. You are the Christ. He said, you're the Christ. We know you. So they could pick his flavor, they could pick his authority, they could pick his personality, they could pick his purpose. You cannot hide in the domain of spirit. The domain of spirit is as clear and clean as it is. You are what you are in the domain of spirit. So remember, that market space of yours, you carry a name, you carry a mandate, you carry a calling. And around that name, mandate, and calling, you have a purpose, you have power, and you are known in a particular kind of way. That is your branding. Having said that, I want to introduce to you something called the Edenic schedule. Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. In Genesis chapter 1, they said, let us make man in our own image after our own likeness. Genesis 1:26. That's personality. Making man in our own image after our own likeness. So the personality became the being, and the being is the image. So when you see image, you know is a being. We became beings made in the image of God. And then God told us to exhibit or to demonstrate that being, to exhibit or to demonstrate yourself in that market space. You have to be fruitful, you have to multiply, you have to subdue, and you have to replenish. He says, be fruitful, multiply, subdue, replenish, because your personality, encoded within your personality, are those four interesting. Is that quadrant of fruitfulness, multiplication, subdue, and replenishing. So you can renew things, you can subdue things, which means you can manipulate them, you can turn them into something that was not there before. You can turn raw materials into something that has some form, an expression of utility. You can multiply things, and you can be productive, be fruitful. Now, those four things: fruitfulness, multiplication, subduing, and replenishing. That's the principle of governance. How do you govern? By being fruitful, by multiplying, by subduing, by replenishing. I told you today I'm not going deeper into things, but whatever you're getting here, pick it. It will help you. So why is he making us in his likeness and his image? Because he wants us to exhibit two things. He wants us to exhibit causation, or to cause something. The way God caused things to exist, God has put in us a mandate to cause things to exist. You understanding? And then he also wants us to exhibit attribution. We are made in his image, so we attribute our image to him. Two things: causation, we can cause things the way God causes things. Yes. And then attribution, we have a point of reference, and the point of reference is him. Are you understanding? So causation is where we say command, we command things. Commandment is where we have causation. And attribution is where we have worship, because we can be referenced back to him, therefore we worship. Are you understanding that? So that's a very interesting thing. So that's what I'm calling the Edenic schedule. And then lastly, since we're talking about meaning, moments, and money, I've asked a question. If you find yourself in a place of meaninglessness, what does that mean? If you find yourself in a place of meaninglessness, first of all, you'll begin to exhibit hopelessness. You'll begin to exhibit hopelessness. And when you exhibit hopelessness, the symptom, or how you know you're exhibiting hopelessness, you'll begin to see waste, either wasting of time or wasting of relationship. So the thing is this: if you find there is some form of leakage in your pursuit of the mandate God gave you, if there's leakage, then that place where leakage is showing up, you'll begin to see waste, and you can attribute that waste to hopelessness, which means there is no hope in that place. So examine yourself, and if you begin to see waste, a waste of time, a waste of purpose, then hopelessness is beginning to encroach. Two scriptures. Number one, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Proverbs 13:12. When hope is deferred, your heart becomes sick. And the heart is that instrumentation that helps you to think. Proverbs 23:7. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if hope is deferred and the heart is sick, then you can't think straight. We're right now in a space called a country, and sometimes we have been experiencing a lot of strain economically, and hope for many people has been deferred. And because hope has been deferred, the heart is sick. And because the heart is sick, then the thinking is not in order with the purposes of God. The thinking does not produce meaning, and therefore, if the thinking does not produce meaning, time does not make sense. And if time does not make sense, you can't govern money, or money goes to waste, or money is not found, or money is not covered. So If you find yourself in a place of meaninglessness, trace it backwards. Look at where hope is. Oh, there's a leakage of hopelessness. You'll begin to see waste. And hope deferred makes our heart sick. And as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So what do you need to revitalize a sense of hope, a sense of meaning? How do you revitalize meaning? You revitalize meaning through three things. You revitalize meaning through what I'm calling disclosure, revelation, and discovery. Disclosure, revelation, and discovery. Same things. God discloses himself to you by revelation. And when God discloses himself to you by revelation, you discover things. And when you discover things, there's light. And light comes in, you begin to think well. You begin to have a sense of direction. These three things, disclosure, revelation, and discovery. When God put man in the garden, he used to come and visit man every time. He used to come and disclose himself to man. He used to come and give him a revelation. He used to come and enable man to discover things about God and things about himself. And these are the things that make us have meaning and therefore govern time and by extension govern money or resources. So that is it for today. Today I told you I'll behave like a marketplace mystic. Take everything I've talked to you about today, starting from meaning, moments, money, time, purpose, personality, power, pain, causation, and attribution. Take all those things and sit down and redo it again. We can go deeper into this thing, but we don't have enough time right now. So maybe we might have to organize, who knows, an offline class where you can sit down with a cohort and we can go through these things so that we can be able to boldly face life and conquer our context or markets and become those personalities that have power and purpose. So that is what I had for today. I wanted to whet your appetite for the possibilities of things you might learn in the marketplace and how you might govern your space and context and how you might turn out to be somebody full of meaning, full of purpose, full of authority, full of power. So if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and share with a friend of yours. And yeah, see you next time. God bless you so much. This is David Mavia.